Hi everyone, my name is Allyson, and today I want to talk about Starbucks, one of my favorite places in the world. And I want to talk about Starbucks, the differences between Starbucks in Japan and in America, and across the world maybe. This thing called cafe culture in the third place, and essentially why I like Starbucks so much. So I hope you enjoy this and learn a little bit from it. Okay? So a lot of you are probably very familiar with Starbucks, at least as a name. There are many Starbucks companies all across the world, and you're probably familiar with the wide variety of drinks that you can get at Starbucks. So before we kind of get into some of those differences, I first want to talk about a brief history kind of where Starbucks came from. So, Starbucks hasn't been around that long. It only opened in 1971. So, the first Starbucks was opened in Seattle, Washington, in the United States on March 31st, 1971. And here is a picture of me at the original Starbucks, or at the first Starbucks in Seattle. So, Starbucks was originally founded or opened by three friends who were an English teacher, a history teacher, and a writer, which is really surprising, I think, because none of those jobs have anything to do with coffee. So, from opening in 1971, today there are over 31,000 different Starbucks locations that spread across 79 different countries. And it's really amazing to think that in just 50 years, it has managed to do this. So, where does the name Starbucks come from? So today, we are very familiar with the green background that has the siren, or the mermaid in the middle with her long hair, but this is the original logo that they used. So the founders, those three friends, came up with the name Starbucks because they had read or they had heard that words that started with the letter ST sounded more powerful than other words. So they thought if they used ST, that st sound, it would be more powerful and more catchy to people who heard it. So they decided eventually on the name Starbucks, which is actually based on a character in the book Moby Dick. And that's really all that it is. It doesn't have to do with stars, it doesn't have to do with money, which we sometimes call bucks. It is all based on this character from a famous novel. So Starbucks in Japan also has quite a long history, relatively. The first store in Japan opened up in Ginza in Tokyo in 1996. And this was actually the first store to open outside of the US. So although there are now 79 different countries with different Starbucks locations, the first one outside of the US was in Japan, in Tokyo. And in Japan now, there are over 1,000 stores. And of course, they are mostly around big cities, or cities in general. So within Akita Prefecture, most of the Starbucks here are in Akita City. You can find a lot more if you go to places like Tokyo or Sendai, but even in Akita, even in the Inaka, we still have Starbucks. First, I want to show some of the different architecture, the different types of buildings that Starbucks in Japan has used to market to more of a Japanese audience. So here we have different buildings. So there is one in Kyoto, right near Kiyomizu Dera. You can see has more of a traditional look to it. There is one in Kawagoe, Saitama, which also has more of a unique architecture. This one in Kobe has a more modern architecture, but it's very different to the ones that you normally see. And then this one down here is in Toyama, which is right along the water, right along the ocean, and has actually won awards for how beautiful it is with its glass design. So you can see that there are many different unique buildings to the Starbucks used, even here in Japan. So, then the question of how are American Starbucks and Japanese Starbucks different from one another? And I want to talk about just a couple differences. So the big one, of course, so Starbucks is a coffee chain, or a beverage chain at least. So I want to talk about some of the drinks. So some of these you may have seen, you may have heard of, but these are drinks that are usually found just in America. So one thing that we have in America are called the refreshers. And these are drinks that have juices in them, different fruit juices that can be mixed with coconut milk. So we have things that are called the pink drink, there is the violet drink, there's purple drink. There are different types of drinks, we say. And these have juices such as strawberry or even dragon fruit. Also a difference in America, not a special drink per se, but you can get free water at any Starbucks in America. You can get free water of any size. So you can get up to venti or even larger than venti. Free water, and the water at Starbucks is actually really marketed. It's really popular because it is called triple filtered. To filter water means to make it even cleaner. So they take out some dirt, some bad things in the water, and they do that 3 times, triple filtered. So the water at Starbucks is actually really, really popular in America, and you can get it for free. Another special drink that we have are called the ombre drinks. These aren't as common anymore. They're very hard for baristas to make, but you can see different, the rainbow designs here, or how the color changes. An ombre is something that changes color gradually. And the last thing, and perhaps the most famous, the most popular Starbucks drink in America at least, especially in fall about right now, is called the pumpkin spice latte. So it's a pumpkin flavored drink. This is the most famous drink. It's called the PSL, for pumpkin spice latte. But there are also a lot of unique drinks to Japan. So maybe this is not surprising, but drinks in Japan tend to have more Japanese flavors. So there are many different types of drinks with matcha and red bean paste, or anko, right? Or azuki. So I'm sure that you have seen these. The matcha frappuccino is especially very popular, even in America, but more common in Japan. Another thing I was surprised at is that in Japan there are often many new frappuccinos, many new milkshake type drinks. In America, there aren't that many new drinks, but in Japan it seems maybe every month there is a new frappuccino that they are selling. So in the past, there have been some really amazing frappuccinos, I think, including American cherry pie, which has a pie crust on the top, which looks amazing. Black sesame, again a very Japanese flavor. Recently, they have done the peach frappuccino, so many different types of frappuccinos that we don't have in America, which was very surprising to me. In Japan also, there tend to be a lot of cold brew combination drinks, so mixing cold brew coffee with things like soda water, and lemonade, which isn't very common and wouldn't sell very well in America. And finally, this isn't necessarily just to Starbucks, but jelly, especially coffee jelly, is very common in drinks in Japan, whereas they would not be common in America. Another big part of Starbucks culture is the food, all of the different snacks that you can buy. In America, it is a lot of breads, a lot of pastries. So at the food cases in America, you can get many things like croissants, danishes, many different types of bread, buns, muffins, scones, and bagels. And there are a lot of different sweet things. You can get sweet breads with frosting on them. There are many different types of cookies and brownies. And one of the most popular things is cake pops, so little bites of cake that have frosting and some toppings on them. But there are very few savory foods, things like sandwiches or things with meat or cheese. It's really only breakfast sandwiches, things you might get for breakfast at McDonald's, for example. And in America, the selection of food doesn't change very often. Every once in a while it changes, but not very frequently. In Japan, however, things seem to change very quickly. Okay. And like with the drinks, there are many matcha-flavored foods at Starbucks in Japan. But there are also very many American foods, like waffles or biscuits, which you can't get at Starbucks in America, which is interesting, I think. There are also many different types of cakes and pastries at Starbucks in Japan. Like I said, the food changes very frequently. And the biggest difference, I think, is that Starbucks in Japan has a lot more, has a wider variety of savory foods, including things like quiches and different types of sandwiches. There are many different seasonal sandwiches that uses seasonal ingredients, things that you can just have at that time, or that really fit the season, like summer or fall, which in America we don't really care too much about. Another thing that I want to talk about that's a difference, but also has an interesting history, is the different sizes of drinks that you can get at Starbucks. So in Japan, the drinks tend to run short, tall, or grande, and you can also get venti, but it seems very uncommon. Whereas in America, we don't have short drinks, really. You can order them, but no one really does. Instead, people order tall, grande, or venti, and sometimes you can even order what's called Trenta, the biggest size. So where do these names come from? So originally, there were just two sizes, just short and tall. So if you think of just these two, the smaller cup was named short, and the larger cup was named tall. Makes sense. But after a while, they added more sizes. So next came grande. Grande is Italian for large. After that, they added venti and trenta. So venti in Italian means 20, which is based off of the original measurement for a hot venti size, which was 20 fluid ounces. So the word 20 in Italian is venti, which is where the name comes from. Trenta, similarly, is 30 fluid ounces. So trenta means 30 in Italian and is where that name came from. The names are always said to be very confusing, but I think it's just the history has kind of been lost. Next, I want to talk about something called cafe culture. So, if we look at Japan's history with coffee, it's actually very short. Of course, it was brought as an import from the Dutch, but canned coffee, and when coffee became really common in Japan, wasn't actually until 1969. And then in 1980, Dotour Coffee opened its first chain, the first chain of coffee shops, but they really focused on an on-the-go environment. So on their way to work, on their way to school, people would come in, grab a coffee, and then drink it, and then go on to the rest of their day. There wasn't a focus on really savoring it. People would just drink it, get the caffeine, and then go on to wherever they needed to go. Also at the time, in Japan, early coffee shops were used as meeting places for social movements, such as for feminism or other social issues, that were aimed at disrupting traditional Japanese society. They were looked at as kind of bad places for bad people to get together and discuss. On the other hand, in America, there's a longer history with coffee and using it more socially. Coffee shops are commonly used and have been used as a place to meet up with people, to study, to do your work, to read, or just to really relax. Cafes in America almost always include free Wi-Fi and free power outlets. That's the biggest difference I've really noticed, a place to charge your phone or your computer. And in America, and many other places in the world, I think, coffee is treated really as a drink to be enjoyed, to be sipped over time, not just downed and then be done with. Which is kind of what has led to this cafe culture, I think. Which brings us to this idea of a third place. So the idea behind a third place is that there are three main places that you go in your life or during your day. There is your home, where you feel most comfortable, where you end your day at and begin. There is school or work, or both sometimes. So you leave your house and you go to school or you go to work. And your third place is where you go to relax. It is another place that you feel as at home at as you do at home or school or work. So Starbucks markets itself as being a third place for everyone. So the CEO, the person in charge of Starbucks right now, says that Starbucks is a chain where people can pay a bit more money for coffee because of the potential connection that comes with it. So you pay a little more money, but you are paying for the service and you are paying for the chance to have a great experience. And to kind of reinforce that, Starbucks really treats its employees and people who come into the store as one family. So people who work at Starbucks aren't called employees, they're referred to as partners. So for me, Starbucks has always really been my third place. It has always been a place where I can feel really comfortable. It's a place where I can get free refills on drinks. There's a desk I can use. There's always an available power outlet, and you can always go up and buy yourself a snack when you feel hungry. It's a place where you can sit with others, you can sit with a friend, or you can just sit and be around other people to feel a little less alone while you're doing whatever you need to do. And for me, it's always been a familiar feeling in a new place. So even if I go to a different country, even if I move all the way to Japan, even if I go travel to another place, it is always a place I can go to that feels familiar, that feels comfortable for me. And at the end of the day, although it is just a place where I go to relax, to unwind, to study, to do some work, it is a chance to meet someone new and to create that new connection. So with that, I would like to leave a couple discussion questions. So the first one, do you often go to cafes? Why or why not? What is the most delicious drink or food that you've had at a Starbucks if you go very frequently? Number 3, where is your third place? Where is the place that makes you comfortable? And what about that place makes you feel comfortable? And finally, why do you think that there tends to be a bigger cafe culture abroad rather than in Japan? Or do you not think that that's true? Okay. So I am looking forward to hearing your ideas, hearing about where your third place is, what you think about Starbucks, what you think about cafes, and I am looking forward to talking more about this in another video. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you have learned a lot and have the chance to share some of your ideas with me, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.